So I just finished watching the Enterprise incident, and I am so glad I got to see this after the train wreck that was Spock's brain. This episode was exactly what I needed. The basic premise, and I'm not going to give away too much about this plot because I really want you to see it if you haven't seen it. Basic plot is that Kirk is just a major jerk the entire time. He has really turned into this pompous ass and is nasty to everybody. And he winds up taking the Enterprise into like the neutral zone, the Romulan area, and they get captured by a bunch of Romulans. And Kirk is on board the Romulan ship. Really great setup. The Romulans now have this new cloaking device, but they're using Klingon birds of prey, which is something I'm going to bring up in just a little bit. Anyway, they're on this ship, and there's Romulans all over, and they're captured, blah, blah, blah. They're doing a good job with it. And Spock basically blames Kirk for the whole incident. He's like, yeah, you messed up. You are not acting correctly, and you sent us here. Really interesting. We get to meet the Romulan captain, who is female. I thought that was a cool twist, because at this point, I think all the Romulans we've met have been male. And to meet one who's female and is the captain of the ship. And she was wonderful. Really, really great, memorable villain. And I think, like the Romulans that we've seen in the past, they're not the evil villains that you typically would see. They're not the, mustache twirling, tie the damsel to the tracks villain of classic television. They are just as righteous and justified as the Federation is in a lot of ways, and they have a hierarchy and they have a government, and in this case the Romulans are totally justified in blowing up the Enterprise if that's what they want to do, because the Enterprise crossed into their territory. I really liked it, setting up Kirk and the Enterprise as the bad guys in this situation. I really want to talk about more about the plot, but I'm not going to, other than to say that there's some really great espionage stuff that goes on. The stuff that I really loved about this episode, besides the great story, was the acting, especially Leonard Nimoy. We get to see Spock in a different light here. And I'm not talking about like Spock with a beard or Spock with no brain. He's still Spock. But we now see him in a semi-romantic relationship with this Romulan captain. And they have this scene where they're kind of courting each other, and they're doing this thing with their hands. And yeah, it was kind of cheesy, but at the same time, it was cool to get to see a little bit more about these cultures, because we've only been told so far that the Romulans and the Vulcans had the same ancestors, that they came from the same place. And not much more has been expanded on that. So basically, yeah, they're the same species, but two different ideologies is what I'm gathering from it. I could be completely wrong, so please, if I am wrong on that fact, correct me. But that's kind of what I've gathered so far. Anyway, it was cool getting to see kind of how their cultures do sexual encounters. That was interesting. So again, Nimoy's acting really great. Shatner's acting was really good. He was still kind of hammy in a lot of places, but what he was doing with this character was real good. DeForest Kelley wasn't in it as much as I would have liked, but when he was on screen, oh, he was so good. We get to see the angry McCoy, and that's always a great thing for me, when he really gets to flex those acting muscles and show off that he's more than just the country doctor. So yeah, I like that. The story, the acting, I don't really feel there are any weak moments in this, other than for a production thing, like I said before, with the Klingon ships. When they first encounter these Romulans, I guess there's 4 ships, but they're all the Klingon birds of prey. Now, what I can figure out is that they had no budget to make new ships. So they just used the pre-existing ships, and they wrote into the script that the Romulans were using the Klingon ships. It works. I'm not going to harp on it too much. It was, for a few seconds, a little distracting. Wait a minute. that seems kind of silly, or I was hoping maybe there's going to be more of that explained, and it's just like, nope, they got Klingon ships, they have a cloaking device now, deal with it. So, yeah, this episode, very happy. I don't have much more to say about it because, like I said, I'm not going to talk about the plot because I really recommend you go out and see this one. This is an episode I would highly recommend to people who, if you've never seen Star Trek before, watch this. I would put that in like the top 5 list of episodes to see if you are new to it because I really enjoyed it. So, that's all I'm going to say about this episode, and I will see you guys later.